And thank you very much, Mr Davies. I'd like to first of all, thank the Backbench Business Debate for granting me this opportunity. I do regret this session is not fully hybrid, and the MPs who are in isolation or shielding to protect their health and the health of others are effectively barred from taking part. This only increases the pressure on members to travel when they could work from home and forces those who support us to attend the state too. My first time back in the state for a wee while, and I was delighted to see new signs everywhere saying keep left and keep moving. I'm hoping this is a new sign from the UK government. Mr Davies, I noticed while writing this speech that as soon as I typed in the letters U and N, my iPad prompted me to select universal. And when I accepted that, it prompted basic income. It would appear that my iPad has been paying more attention to me than the UK government has. It also learns quicker. A UBI is an inclusive scheme that protects and recognises everyone. All adults and children receive a set payment on a regular basis. It is fair, it destigmatises the recipient, and people are paid regardless of their circumstances. After all, are all people not created equal? UBI alleviates poverty and reduces inequality. It strengthens a sense of individual citizenship, it empowers people and facilitates civic partnerships. To quote from the UBI Lab Northern Ireland working paper, a UBI can be understood to be a right of citizenship, a fair share of assets we and the generations before us have helped create. It recognises each of our stake or share in the commons of the earth. And that, I find, is a truly beautiful concept. A UBI strengthens social bonds and improves mental health. Nobody would deny that economic instability contributes to poor mental health, and yet the current system dangles the threat of sanctions over the heads of recipients, going so far as to drive some to suicide. UBI removes that psychological burden. A UBI will not fund the lifestyle of an MP, but it is a platform in which individuals can add other income without fear of financial repercussions. The current system ties work to welfare. It can make the transition into work more complex. People should be free to take on part-time work or occasional work without strings attached. A UBI affords more flexibility to employee and employer, while acknowledging that employees are empowered and less likely to be exploited. And it's permanent. It gives security and peace of mind. It can't be withdrawn or become conditional, unlike the pensions of hundreds of thousands of waspy women cheated out of their pensions by the UK government. And that permanency stimulates entrepreneurship, which can lead to the generation of jobs. It is the poorest in society that will directly benefit most. And we know that they're more likely to spend their money on essential items in their own community, which in turn stimulates local growth. Prior to COVID, the upsurge in interest in UBI was attributed to the gig economy, the increasing automation, and the creation of a greater number of people described by Guy Standing as the precariat. COVID has accelerated the increase in numbers of the precariat. Many people who once felt safe are now feeling vulnerable. It is the duty of any good government to protect its citizens, and not just in the short term, not just reacting to unfolding circumstances, but planning long-term for future generations. To that aim, pilot projects have already been run in Canada, USA, Kenya, Brazil, Finland, India, Italy, Uganda, Namibia, where versions of cash transfer projects have been run in Iran, Lebanon, Kuwait, Zambia, Zimbabwe. There are plans for UBI-type schemes in Spain, Switzerland, Germany and the Ukraine. I have a simple ask of the Minister. Has the UK government taken any steps to learn anything from any of those countries? And please do not quote me the Finnish Finance Minister who came out against it before the results were even published. And if the UK government thinks it's beneath them to be advised by foreigners, will they back pilot projects in the UK and learn from them? Northern Ireland is asking, Wales is asking, Scotland is asking, and England is asking. If ever there was a policy that could be pursued that would be welcomed across the United Kingdom, UBI is it. The 4 pilots proposed in Scotland are all well documented, and all we need is the cooperation of the DWP and HMRC. And these pilots will not only help us to learn about the economics of UBI, They'll help us understand the political, strategic, institutional, psychological and ethical feasibility of a UBI. When we exposed the UK to universal credit, it was plain to see that it had not been thought through fully, and it failed miserably, and ever since then we have been patching and amending the system. Had we run pilots for universal credit, we would have avoided many of the pitfalls and saved many people from suffering it caused. I will make the claims that UBI reduces crime, gives people more opportunity, improves health and mental well-being, improves community relations and contributes to a stronger local economy. Minister, run these pilots across the UK and prove me wrong. I know the Minister is not a fan of UBI. He will claim that the cost of UBI makes it a non-starter. Why even consider it if we can't afford it? Why run pilots that may tell us that it's amazing, it's magnificent, if we can't then implement it? Well, Minister, let's run the pilots, learn what benefits it does or does not bring, and then we can argue about the cost versus outcome. Because if the Minister is seriously telling me that if all the benefits that I am claiming can be proved, he would not move mountains to provide it for the citizens of the United Kingdom, then he's skating on very thin ice. The NHS did not just materialise out of thin air. It was not dreamt up one wet Wednesday afternoon in the tea room. It was not designed in the back of a fag packet. The NHS was introduced on the 5th of July 1948. But prior to this, half of Scotland's landmass had already been covered by Highlands and Islands Medical Services, which had been set up in 1913. HIMS acted as a working blueprint for the NHS in Scotland. It was directly funded by the state and administered centrally from the Scottish office in Edinburgh. It was a pilot project allowed to develop and grow. It uncovered unforeseen problems and fixed them. It ensured that on day one, the NHS was, to all intents and purposes, good to go. An interesting aside here, one of the administrators of the HMS was from my constituency, a Gurut-born woman, Muriel Ritson. She was the only woman on the Scottish Board of Health in 1919. But by 1942, she sat in the Beveridge Commission, which assisted in establishing the NHS. The link is there for us all to see. She had learned her lessons and she brought them to bear many years later. She also attended the old school, about myself and a member for North East Fife. As an American, Mary Breckenridge visited Scotland in 1924 and later built the Frontier Nursing Service in Kentucky based on the HIMS model. But not everyone saw the benefit. Just like today, the Conservatives argued against it. Lord Banbury objected to English taxpayers contributing to the medical benefit of Scotland. And here we are, all these years later, with NHS Scotland and the wider UK NHS in true UBI style, supporting us all through the current health crisis. If we had not had the NHS, it would have been too late to create it. It was there for us, and UBI could have been there for us too. Minister, if you're not prepared to follow current examples from around the world, then be brave, support the pilot projects and lead the world. Yes, it will cost more. It will cost lots of pounds and lots of pence, but the value will be far higher than our current system, and the society it supports is too precious for it not to exist. While I don't doubt for 1 minute that budgets must be balanced, recent times have taught us that when the motivation exists, then purse strings can be loosened. I want to now quickly review the response of the Minister to UBI at a recent Petitions Committee debate. He had 3 objections. How do you afford it? The Minister explained that the Centre for Social Justice found that giving every working-age adult in the United Kingdom £10,000 per year would cost the region of £400 billion. Now, I can question that figure. He seems to think it's higher than that. I can question that figure. But his argument was that the average universal credit claim was more generous at £16,000 per year, completely ignoring the fact that the UC figure is per household. A household with 2 parents and 2 kids would only need £5,000 per adult and £3,000 per kid to meet his generous standards. I've just halved his £400 billion at one stroke. How would you deliver it? His next question. The simpler the system, the cheaper the delivery. And UBI is simpler. And even if it costs the same at the existing system, we're still no worse off. And then he went on to boast, my department and HMRC have done exceptional work throughout the pandemic to stand up new services and increase the capacity of existing ones. We've been able to move quickly to support over 9 million people. Genuine congratulations, very well done, a job well done. And I know my local DWP and job centre, the one job centre which is left in my constituency, have been quite superb. But with UBI, there would be no need for that. All payments would already be in place. With UBI, the safety net has already been built. You're not building it as you're falling. Certainly.
Thank you, Chair. As my honourable friend is concerned as I am that during the pandemic, that although the Herculean efforts of the DWP staff was ensuring people were paid, that during the height of lockdown, there were so many people getting money taken off them, about £60 a month, due to advance repayments.
It goes back to my original point that I don't believe universal credit is the solution we're looking for. It's been patched and amended, and when it's put under pressure, when there are changes in circumstances, it's a system which is not fleet of foot to cope with people's day-to-day living. And the Minister went on to, during the last debate to say, and perhaps most fundamentally, what would actual impact be? The Minister had the temerity to say, this is the fundamental case against UBI. So it wasn't the cost, it wasn't the delivery, it's the impact of UBI that he does not like. The Minister states, unlike universal credit, UBI does not target support at those in greater need. Finally, he's got it right. Because you don't need to target them. Everybody gets it, no stigma attached. He went on to say that UBI does not take into account additional costs faced by many individuals, such as those with disability or those with childcare responsibilities. Yes, it does take that into account. Read the pilot project's proposals. Then, in sheer desperation, he goes for that old chestnut. To put it into perspective, Chair, UBI would be paid to you, me and all members of this House. Yes, it would, and I'll take it all back in tax. Thank you very much. And in vindicating the current system, the Minister, without a hint of irony, in his conclusions said the UK Government was providing millions to food charities to help get through to those who are struggling. And yet, if they had UBI, they wouldn't rely on charity from this one-nation conservatism-driven government. People don't want handouts, they don't want charity, they don't want the crumbs from the top table. They deserve a platform on which they can build, one that allows them to sit at the top table as equals, not beholden on their rich benefactors. Please, Minister, for the benefit of all 4 nations in the United Kingdom, support the plans for UBI pilots and allow us to move forward with a progressive welfare system that is practical and compassionate and fit for this century.